at this part of the study guide. The road to revolution. This is the period of time between those two wars, the French and Indian 7 Years' War, and then the beginning of the American Revolution, where all these events take place, actions taken by the British government, Parliament, and their king, and actions taken by the colonists, back and forth, which of course leads to the American Revolution in 1775. So I'm not going to go into each and every one of these in great detail. You have your notes. If you don't think that you have what you need there, you can come and see me, ask a friend. What I can tell you is that there are several different ways I can go about asking some questions here. I'm going to look for content that you know what these different acts were or proclamations. Like in the Sugar Act, we would have written down here that one of the biggest problems was that they allowed those writs of assistance, right? Those search warrants that seem to be very unfair, looking for smugglers. How important the Stamp Act was, the first really big step towards revolution. Why were people so angry about the Stamp Act here in the colonies? That's a big one. What were those Virginia resolves? A lot of these are going to be separate questions. I may even ask you to have some short answer writing just about some of these different acts and other ways that the British government tried to impose their authority on the colonies. The Declaratory Act, what were those words in it that were very scary? You know, the colonies are and right ought to be subordinate to the British Crown, that the British government can make any laws they want over the colonies in all cases whatsoever. What the Townshend Acts were, sending troops to Boston, big mistake. What was the Boston Massacre? You know, what happened in that event? And importantly, what was the British response? And talk about the trial that was in Boston. Was it fair, unfair? Boston Tea Party, one of the most famous political gestures in history, an open act of defiance, right, that the British have to punish, and they will. We talked about 4 coercive acts. You should know what each of them was in regards to being a punishment, how the Continental Congress responded, and then the British response to the Congress. So it's one thing after another. There's a lot of cause and effect in here, right? The shot heard around the world was something we wrote down on the American Revolution notes after talking about Lexington and Concord, right? I think knowing the timeline of these is also very important. I could ask you which of these came first, the big problems. Okay, so I've tried to emphasize some of the importance of what this is, but you are going to have to rely on your listening in class, the notes you've been taking, and if you wanted to study with friends or come ask me questions. Good luck.